Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the Twitter handle, and I'm joined today by Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald, and also Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay. Gentlemen, how we doing? Or is that a silly question?
Yeah, we're all good, Tony.
Absolutely buzzing.
Buzzing is the phrase that says Ryan, Aidan. So we'll just take it that everybody out there enjoyed their beautiful Sunday. Yep, and it's all kind of cascaded over into a happy Monday. They're going to step on you again. Indeed, they did. That's the first time. And just twisted Rangers melons this season without defeat, 4 wins and a draw. Celtic into the Scottish Cup final on June the 3rd, a chance to make history by becoming the first club to win 8 domestic trebles. We will talk about that in due course, but the three of us here, and as somebody said in the comments already, Paul, Andrew, Martin, yes, a bit of a treble yell going on. We'll go with that, Paul. Indeed, in the midnight hour, we cry more, don't we? There we go. Now, guys, first and foremost, we say thank you to our sponsors, SENECA. And as everybody knows, the Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. And we also ask you every day to subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality football journalism covering the club you love. All you have to do, guys, click of a button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. There you go, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Gentlemen, Celtic are in the Scottish Cup final. Rangers 0, Celtic 1. Jota header, the goal coming in the 42nd minute. Because what, guys? They never stop. Some Rangers players stopped. Celtic didn't. Big up to Dyson Maeda, who's dinked a wonderful crossover. I can't underestimate his part in it. Jota, header, bang. Double denim man does it, Ryan. You know what I mean? Wonderful. Pulled off double denim. And as I said last night on Twitter, and allegedly, according to Steve McGrory, morning Steve, if you're watching, I won Celtic Twitter last night by saying that Jota brazenly headed home the winner. See what I did there? Do you see what I did there? Not Celtic in the Scottish final. So there you go, guys. As I say, beautiful Sunday, Aidan. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously probably one of those games that you might not look back on as being an absolute classic, but I think we discussed, Tony, after the League Cup final, how despite it maybe not being the greatest performance, we thought Celtic did play okay. And I had a sort of similar feeling yesterday. Now, obviously, when we played Rangers at the start of the season and Celtic won 4-0, that was a very high barometer to set in terms of performance against them. You know, you could maybe go another 2-3 years and not play that well against Rangers, or maybe play as well but not score as many goals. It's just one of those ones that might have been a wee bit of a one-off. But I thought Celtic were fine yesterday. I'm sure we'll come on to discuss individuals, but I thought as a team they sort of done the job. It wasn't perfect. I'm sure there'll be things that Ange can sort of pick out and he'll analyse, etc., as he always does. But no, I was pretty happy with the game overall, Tony. And yeah, it was nervy near the end, that as you would expect when it's 1-0 against Rangers in a semi-final. 1-0 in any semi-final, you'd be nervous, but the fact of how you were playing added a sort of an extra edge to it. But yeah, no, I was pretty delighted with how it turned out, Tony. As I imagine you probably were as well. I wouldn't want to speak in your half, but I'd imagine you were probably delighted with that.
Very much so. Guys, I've just put it in the comment section. There's my verdict from yesterday. And if you're a new romantic, old romantic, hopeless romantic, which I am, all of the above, then there are some Heaven 17 references in there for those of a certain vintage. Cannot run away from that or deny that. But yeah, there's my opinion piece or verdict in there, the comment section. Have a read at that. You'll enjoy that. Well, I hope you enjoy it. Just hoping you read it as well. But there you go. Ryan, semi-finals, results always of paramount importance. You work on performance later. Ange always likes the 2 boxes ticked, though, result and performance. But what he did say yesterday, which I thought was telling, Celtic found a different way to win. Now, I'm connecting dots here, Ryan, as I always do. Joining dots, connecting dots, whatever you want to say. But I'm thinking that's the kind of performance that the manager maybe sees in the Champions League. You might be under the cosh a wee bit, but you see it out, you defend, you repel everything that's thrown at you. And we'll get on to talking about individuals, but it was the nature of that win yesterday that pleased him greatly, pleased me greatly, and from my seat in the press box, it was. I could show no flicker of emotion that it pleased me greatly, because I was, let's just say, I was nearer the Mount Florida end, I think it's called. But hey, there you have it. Can't have everything in life. But as I say, results are of paramount importance in these fixtures, Ryan. It won't go down as a classic, but I don't think Celtic supporters won't care one jota about that, will they? They are in the final, Ryan, and history beckons.
That's it, absolutely. These are my favourite sort of wins, I've got to be honest. I like the ones where you have to work for it. First half, we showed our power going forward, but in the second half we showed just how good we are defensively. I mean, I know we're going to talk about individuals later on, but those 2 centre halves, they were absolute 2 brick walls in that defence. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. We're in a final, we're in another final, and just getting used to getting us into finals. So absolutely brilliant. I couldn't be happier.
I mentioned the fact, Aidan, that the we never stop, and Ange's been mic'd up, and there's that moment where he says, "Get it into your heads, we never stop. If the opposition want to stop, then we'll take advantage of it." There's an expletive before that, but this is a family-run briefing, so we won't use the expletive. But, get it in your head, we never stop. We celebrate at half-time. Sorry, we stop at half-time, and then we celebrate at full-time when we've won the game. Everything about that mic'd up session came true yesterday. The opposition switched off. Maida switched on. Jota switched on. You look at a catalogue of it. But as he said in his post-match analysis, he said it's happening too often to be a coincidence. Celtic are forcing these mistakes. Raskin stops, Barisic stops. Tavernier usually does what Barisic does, goes to sleep as a man's running by him at the back post, and thankfully they did. But yeah, you kind of see that, and I think that's what will have pleased them as well. Those kind of goals don't happen by accident. It's no coincidence now that the team, to a man, are switched on, and those 2 guys that Ryan mentioned were excellent at the back of the pack. And everyone spoke about Cameron Carter-Vickers, but I want to single out Starfelt as well, because I think the 2 of them had a pact with each other as they walked down the tunnel. They just said, "We're no losing." Cameron Carter-Vickers obviously said, "I'm out here, big man, after this, but we do the business today, right? The 2 of us, we're not going to lose," because they defended like their life depended on it. To be fair, at times threw himself in front of everything, and Cameron Carter-Vickers typified that when he took a sore one from Morelos, which was a right sore one, kind of nasty one, and clearing the ball. And I also thought Joe Hart was outstanding, probably one of his best performances in a Celtic jersey, Aidan. But we'll come to all of that. But yeah, just a different way of winning, and good that Celtic have that in the locker.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be a successful team, you're not going to scalp every single team that you play, 4-5-6-0, Tony. As much as I know we'd be absolutely delighted if that was the case, football doesn't tend to work like that, and the fact you're showing that edge, maybe similar in a way to the 2-1 victory at Ibrox last season.
Yep.
In that second half, I think maybe Rangers had slightly more chances in that game yesterday than they did in that previous fixture I've mentioned. But yeah, it's important to sort of play in a different way and be able to win in a different way for me. And yeah, that absolutely delighted me. And I think you could tell the manager enjoyed that to an extent as well. Of course, he would want it to be sort of free-flowing, nice football every single game. But he mentioned after it the importance of defending. I think it was in his... Can't remember if it was in his the presser you were at, Tony, or the actually live coverage on Viaplay. You might be able to correct me on that, but one or the other anyway. And he was basically saying how much the defensive aspect and defending from the front, etc., is a part of how he wants to play.
he mentioned it to Martin O'Neill, didn't he? Because Martin O'Neill brought it up, the very fact that Celtic had won with a colossal defensive display from two Colossus. I don't know what the plural is of Colossus. Is maybe Colossuses, but maybe not. But who cares? They both played like a Colossus, i.e. Cameron Carter-Vickers and Carol Starfelt. So it was Martin O'Neill that kind of brought that point up to him, and he was very chuffed that Martin O'Neill had brought that up, and then Martin O'Neill also gave him a compliment, to which I don't think you could embarrass Ange, but I think he was kind of almost going red-faced. If you watched the Viaplay interview on the podium after it, he was saying he was kind of following in the footsteps of a great manager, pointing to Martin O'Neill. But even Martin O'Neill, as he walked away from the studio, said to him, "You're doing terrifically well," and shook his hand. And I thought that was a wonderful touch. It's just a man who, I mean, I think Celtic supporters and players and their supporters are just caught in a moment in time here at the minute, Ryan, where everything they touch, not necessarily saying it's turning to gold or turning to silver, if you want to be pedantic about it. But yeah, it's working, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely is. I've said it a couple of times on Twitter and on other sort of broadcasts that these are special times that we're living in when it comes to Celtic. You've just got to. I mean, we obviously had Brendan Rodgers sort of time. I know he was at the game yesterday. That was a very special time for the amount of trophies we were winning. But maybe I took that for granted then. I'm certainly not taking this time for granted. It's truly a phenomenal time to be a Celtic fan. It's success, it seems, every season. We're playing a beautiful brand of football. And I just can't get enough of this team. Honestly, I know that's such a cliche, but I just can't get enough of watching this team. Character building is incredible in this team. They just don't know when to quit. The second half, some of the defending, I mean, I could talk about those. I've already mentioned the two centre halves, but I could talk about them all day. Just absolutely phenomenal, winning every single header. It's the best defensive partnership I've ever seen at Celtic. And I know we've had two good defenders beforehand. You think of guys like Van Dijk and Denier together, but I think these two complement each other so well. And you see it on the pitch, they're two leaders, and it's just a joy to watch at the back. Our football at the back is just as enjoyable for me as the football up front, and then the two work together so well.
Aidan, I'm not a defender, man. Not really drawn to defenders. I've spoke about that on this at length, but yes, I think there's lots of love for Cameron Carter-Vickers and Starfelt as well. I'm not going to forget him for their defensive duties and what they bring to this team. And I think Ange touched on it yesterday. He used a word just about the evolution of the team progress. And that was a performance that he said that was steeped in evolution of the Celtic side. As you said, you can't go scalping teams 6-0 every other week. You nearly used the phrase, but I'll use it. Can it be rip-roaring, free-scoring, never boring every other week? Can it? C'est non. As the French say, c'est non possible. But hey, when it happens, we enjoy it. But as Ryan also said, when Celtic play like that, see it out and win and cope with a bit of pressure, because you've seen that happen in the Celtic team would have kind of folded or caved in. And yeah, they withstood everything that Rangers could repel at them. And, you know, this narrative that Rangers were the better team and all that. Alan McGregor had as many saves to make as Joe Hart, did he not? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, as far as I can remember, Tony, I think he did. And, you know, if being the sort of best team in that game is, you know, losing and, all right, maybe running about a few nice wee passes, then that's fine. That suits me if that's how Rangers want to view they were the best team. But regardless, outside of that, I think in terms of the defensive aspect, you were quite right to mention Starfelt, Tony. You know, he does get some criticism sometimes, and I know me, you, and Sean previously, and I'm sure Ryan has as well, on other podcasts. Sometimes it can be warranted, you know. I think sort of the prime example was maybe the penalty at Ibrox. I think we'd said, you know, I know there was debate about the time whether or not that was a penalty. I think we sort of came to the agreement that it just was a bit of pure defending from Starfelt. So he can do that sometimes, but the majority of the time he's phenomenal. And yesterday, Carter-Vickers will quite rightly get the majority of the plaudits because he was sensational. Like I like to think I'm not being dramatic with saying it's one of the sort of best defensive performances I've seen in recent times from a Celtic player. He was sensational, but Starfelt plays an important role in that, and their sort of solid partnership. I know Sean always used to laugh when I would mention it during my predicted lineups, but the fact that they've only lost not lost a league game. They've only lost one domestic game, that being the semi-final last season. It's some record, Tony, when you think about it. They have played the majority of the last 2 campaigns. I know they've had B periods in and out, but I'd imagine it's probably at least about 75% of the games they've been involved in. So it's some stat when you look at it, and yeah, they were both phenomenal yesterday. But just a special mention for Starfelt, like you'd already brought up, Tony, because Carter Vickers will be getting the plaudits, and rightfully so. He was deservedly the player of the match, but Starfelt was very solid as well.
I agree, Ryan. You concur with that sentiment?
See, any Starfelt sort of praise, I'll get on the back of. I absolutely love the big man. I think he's one of the best headers of the ball we've had in recent years. You give Starfelt an opportunity to head the ball in the box, he's going to do it. He'll run through walls for you. He's a wall himself, but he'll run through brick walls for this team. And I think he's going to get I think because Carter Vickers is now, that's his last game of the season, and they'll probably talk about that as well. But I think he's going to get more credit now as the weeks go in, because he'll be playing on the right side of defence alongside Kobayashi. So he'll now be playing in the position that he wants to play in. You've got to remember, he's been playing out of position for large parts of his time at Celtic. He would much rather be playing on Carter Vickers' side, but Carter Vickers is so good that he plays out of position. So it'll be great for him to sort of get his flowers in the next couple of weeks, because I think he really, really deserves all the praise that he gets. I couldn't speak highly enough of him, and I think he shows great character, because he does get a lot of stick. The media does give him a lot of stick. Some of it is warranted, but you see, when he has performances like that, you've got to just sing his praises.
I thought you were going to go all Jim White on me there with Brian Laudrup. Ryan, no, why is Carter Vickers so good? You know what I mean? Discuss. Modern Studies essay, 15 marks. But yeah, as you say, we could wax lyrical all day. 2 brilliant, stalwart defensive performances yesterday from the 2 centre-backs. No qualms about Kobayashi coming into the side. We say, get well to Cameron Carter Vickers. Hope everything goes all right when he gets his process on the knee done, surgery that he needs. And I laughed at Ange yesterday. He said he wanted to get it done sooner, but the big man wanted to play, and he was scared of the big man, so he just lets him do what he wants. That's I like a bit of that, that kind of deadpan, droll sense of humour. Can't beat it, Ange. Wonderful, and always timed right. Now, I mentioned Joe Hart. Thought Joe Hart had an excellent game, a brilliant close range, instinctive save as well. Another one who set a high bar but gets judging a high bar. So credit where it's due. Gave Joe Hart an 8 yesterday. It wasn't Joe Hart 7, it was Joe Hart 8. But I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Did what he had to, even came and punched a couple of crosses, corners, and I thought his handling was excellent. Aidan, you can beg to differ or concur.
No, I completely agree with you on that, Tony. And I did think for the sort of maybe first sort of 50 odd minutes or so, I was thinking, is this going to be another similar, Joe Hart? He gets a 6 or a 7, and he's not bad by any stretch, but he's just not really involved, and ends up being the only thing you're really judging the ones he's kicking at times. But he made some crucial saves, there's no doubt about that, and some really good saves as well. It probably was, I mean, you might disagree with me on this, it probably was one of Joe Hart's potentially best performances in a Celtic jersey, because it was important saves at important times. I know I'm probably forgetting matches in there last season, even if I maybe temper it a wee bit and say definitely one of his best performances in this current campaign anyway. It was really solid from and really important saves, and I actually thought his kicking for the most part was all right as well yesterday. There was the odd one which kind of came to expect at that stage. I think we can all accept that it's, in terms of kicking wise, we're not going to be Manchester City with Ederson in goal. That's fine. It doesn't always need to be like that. But Joe Hart was very good yesterday. I thought I was really impressed with him, and his celebration at the end was phenomenal, I would say.
Yes, indeed. Ryan, were you impressed with Joe Hart yourself yesterday? Did you think that it was one of his better performances in a Celtic jersey?
I've got to say, I've been impressed with Joe Hart since he came into the club. I think it's a match made in heaven for the two of them. We needed a calm and steady presence at the back, or between the sticks, after the sort of goalkeeping sort of disaster we had a couple of years ago. And Joe Hart needed his career revitalised. He was sitting on the bench at Burnley. Tirino he was playing at. I know he didn't have a good spell there, and he was at Spurs too. But I think it's a perfect mix between the two. I thought he was great yesterday. His celebrations at the end were absolutely brilliant. He absolutely loves it, the big man. You can tell he's just got that. He's revitalised. He's absolutely loving every minute at Celtic. And he's one of the leaders. I mean, you keep Cal McGregor's a leader, Cameron Carter-Vickers a leader, but so is Joe Hart. So many leaders are taking the responsibility in the team, and it's absolutely brilliant to see. And long may it continue. He's been absolutely brilliant.
Now, your old da here got it right, Aidan. 11 at 11 in the old team selection. Caught you whack for that. No substitute for experience, knowledge, wisdom, and all that. Mostly Norman wisdom, but there we go. Anyway, the big call of the day was Hagggerty, but I think we all recognised very soon into that game that he was just a bit off it, wasn't he? And I gave Callum McGregor an 8 because I thought Callum McGregor did a hell of a lot of running and kind of covering up for where a normally fitter Hagggerty would have made a more of a stellar contribution, let's just say. So and I think Matt O'Reilly functions better as well when Hagggerty's there and he's on song. So I think the two of them were kind of covering for Hagggerty, let's be honest, because I thought Matt O'Reilly was doing pretty well, but it was just obvious to see very early that Hagggerty just wasn't at it, just wasn't that match sharpness and match fitness that you need for a game of that magnitude. Thankfully, it didn't cost Celtic. They made the substitutions, fairly early, as he does, but he gave Hagggerty the benefit of the doubt with kind of go with the hour mark, Aidan, but there we have it. But I thought O'Reilly was excellent in the first half, and I was a bit surprised when he came off, to be fair. I think he was surprised too, but listen, I'm not going to question the manager's judgment. He brought on Jota and Moy to get a foothold again in the midfield, which I think Callum had ran everywhere, hadn't he? Covered every blade of grass, just making sure Celtic got over the line, let's put it that way, Aidan.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Tony. And he did struggle a wee bit, but I think if there's one person in that team we can say, particularly when he's come back from injury, it was maybe allowed a wee bit of an off day. It's Rio Hagggerty. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. I don't want to get into the Player of the Year debate, Tony. I know we'll probably have that down the line. We'll maybe just park that for today because that's a whole probably separate weeks or months worth of podcast. But
yeah,
in terms of that back to Hagggerty, he did struggle a wee bit, but I thought O'Reilly and McGregor played so well, as you mentioned, Tony, that you didn't really notice that much that Hagggerty was off it. It was maybe more near the end. Some of his passing was a wee bit off and he looked tired, but Matt O'Reilly, he's played his way back into form, hasn't he? I know there's maybe people that understandably think he's been pretty good the whole season. I think we discussed, Tony, that he maybe at the sort of after Cal McGregor came back in and he dropped out of the team for a wee while. When he was coming off the bench, he maybe wasn't always involved, despite his assist numbers also being very good. But I feel that particularly since this World Cup break, he's been excellent. I've thought personally he's been really looking back to his best. That sort of original spell that we had when he first came into the club, it's been really good to see because it's just another strong option in the middle of the park, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I wasn't having a go at Hagggerty. I was just kind of...
No, of course not.
I was desperate to see him on the team, which is why I put him on the team. Same. But I got like 20 minutes in and I was like, this isn't working. You could just see it, and maybe even from earlier on, you just thought, he's just no at it at this minute in time. And you were just thinking, how long would he get? And you were hoping that he would maybe play himself into the game, but he didn't. But as I say, Ryan, thankfully it didn't backfire on Ange or Celtic because they managed to stow up the midfield. And I think Moy did very well when he came on. Gave them a kind of calm reassurance as well. And also Haksabanovic, who clearly had the instruction when he came on, take the ball a walk and a wander, and a wee bit more composure in his delivery. He could have played a couple of players in, i.e. like Maida at one point, I think, as well. But I thought Haksabanovic was really good, and that's what annoys me about Haksabanovic. He's a brilliant impact player. I just want him to get that kind of impact for 90 minutes. Let's put it that way, Ryan,
Yeah, I would say I'm one of Haksabanovic's biggest fans, and I'm desperate. Whenever he starts a game, I'm really desperate for him to stake his claim and make that position his own. But at the moment, he's so good coming off the bench, because I think maybe he's not as fit as the other players, I would say. Maybe he's still working to get to that sort of level that Jota and Maeda are. I know it's going to be very difficult to catch up with Maeda. The guy would run all day if he could. But when he comes on, he's obviously been given an instruction: just hold the ball, allow Rangers to tackle and make for. He done well. The ball stuck to him whenever it was going out to him.
Yeah.
It was a really good cameo appearance from Haksabanovic, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the coming weeks, because I'm sure we'll be rotating more and more, and I would love him to get more of a chance in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, indeed. And on the subject of, where is it? I had it here a minute ago, but anyway, Steve McGrory said, 60 minutes for Hatate, good week's training this week, and he should be fine. Yeah, that's 60 minutes action yesterday, another week of training feed, and will be fine. I agree with that. It maybe just came too soon for him, but still, I thought, as I say, thought O'Reilly was excellent for the time he was on the field, or he was certainly decent. McGregor was just Callum McGregor, wasn't he? A leader, as Ryan alluded to earlier, spoken about the back. And as much as I thought Kyogo was quietish, he was still running and giving Rangers defenders problems and stuff to think about. McGregor made a fine save, maybe didn't connect with it the way he would have wanted. I think he wanted to get more power and more bending. The one he tried to bend into the bottom corner, then whistled one kind of inches past the upright with a longer range shot. But the manager singled out Dyson Maeda for his he doesn't give anybody a moment's peace. And even when his deliveries high, wide and handsome, it doesn't put him off, does it? He's still in there. He's still running around like the Roadrunner, terrorising people and just not giving you a moment. And tremendous work rate, that work ethic, which is why he loves Dyson Maeda. And then obviously Jota flitting in and out of proceedings, but flitted into proceedings at the right time and burying the header. It is a brilliant cross. People say, you can't miss from there, but believe me, players have. But he stole in and he made sure he buried it, Aidan. Planted a wonderful header. And speaking of celebrations, another classic. I think Jota's at it, isn't he? He just knows when the camera's on him and produces meme moments, I think you'll call them. And I think he's every photographer's dream, really, when he scores. And I think that's 4 goals against Rangers for Jota over 2 seasons. He got one each game, one in the 4-0 game, one in the 3-2 game, and yesterday's, which has turned out to be a winner in a Scottish Cup semi-final. So good to see you, Aidan.
Yeah, it was really good to see, and it's 3 goals this season, 4 goals overall for Jota against Rangers, which is phenomenal numbers for somebody who is a forward player, obviously, but not a striker. Yeah, he took his goal well, and I think you're right about him knowing when there's a camera on him, Tony. A man that rocks up to a certain pub with double denim on, he's not shy of being in front of the camera, is what I would say. But I think it was a really good picture. I believe it was used for your ratings, Tony, which I will just put in the chat right now. And it was of Jota, sort of the one I'm imagining that's what you're referring to when he's sort of just coming back to celebrate. It was phenomenal, and he was excellent yesterday. To be honest, the way he was pressing at times, the way he was causing problems for the Rangers defence in the box and sort of from crosses, trying to get on the end of them outside of the one he obviously did. Maybe a wee bit of a different angle to Jota's game that we hadn't seen previously. And no, I was really impressed with him, and he's been a real thorn in Rangers' side this season, which is, as Celtic fans, that's something we all want to see, isn't it?
And Ryan, he can commit all the fashion crimes he wants, you know what I mean, with his double denim and all that, but there's only so many people that can kind of pull that look off. Jota's one of them. Now, I was having a chat with somebody last night, and he still gave one of the best answers I've ever heard as to why he signed for Celtic. And he said he fell in love. That's a man that's fallen in love with Celtic, coming from Portugal, Benfica. His own love, boyhood idols, Benfica. Yet he signed for Celtic, and he's in the brazen head because he's researching the history of the club. You see him; he's just immersing himself in it. He absolutely loves it, and it's like you or I going to Portugal and developing a love for Benfica, probably be Sporting Lisbon, wouldn't it, with the green and white, to be fair. But you know what I mean? It just doesn't happen that often that somebody from another country comes into your country and actually tells you how much they profess their love for Celtic. It gets under your skin, and it's clearly gotten under Jota's skin. And I go back to that. Why did he sign for Celtic? Fell in love. That's why he signed for Celtic, for moments like that. It just makes the supporters love him even more, doesn't it? Really, and everybody that watches him, his teammates clearly love him. And it's he realised that Celtic would offer him the best chance for career advancement and to take his talent to whatever level he wants to go at. But certainly, you said that there'd been a match made in heaven, and Celtic and a couple of players, but certainly Jota, that's been a marriage made in heaven, a union made in heaven, and long may it continue. And you just enjoy these players while you can.
Yeah, absolutely. He's your superstar, isn't he? He's just the superstar from Portugal, as we sing. It's such a cliche. It's one of the most overused cliches, but he totally gets it, doesn't he? Jota just gets it. And I'm so glad that he's got an Instagram presence as well, because now he sees how much the Celtic fans love him when they all comment on his photos. He picks great photos as well to put on his Instagram. I hope it's all him that's doing it and it's not he doesn't pay anybody else, because I mean, even if he does, I'll believe it's Jota. But he wouldn't even need to do anything off the pitch for us to love him, but he does all this and he's an absolute superstar on the pitch. And I'm so glad that now the numbers that he's getting in terms of goals and assists are doing him justice this season, because I think maybe 3-4 months ago he wasn't maybe putting as many goals and assists that he would want, especially the big fanfare when he came back in a permanent signing. But I'm so glad he's amongst the goals, and he's really making a push towards, I would say, Player of the Year stuff as well.
13 goals, Aidan, for the season, is that right?
Yeah, 13 goals, 11 assists, I believe, Tony, which is the old double-double, as it's sometimes referred to.
Yes.
And that'll be the second, I believe that'll be the second season in a row he's sort of had double figures in both, which is very impressive. And yeah, he's just phenomenal to watch. You don't have a good thing to say about Jota at this stage, which I know isn't much use when you're on a podcast, Tony, but it's honestly, he's a pleasure to watch, and the fact that he seems to be loving the club is a bonus, really. And that just makes everybody warm to him even more. And yeah, and I know somebody that I hope we get to see a wee bit more of for a few more years to come. I know that's a separate discussion, obviously. Don't want to really go into that, but yeah, I'm loving seeing him play. And
he will get all the plaudits because he scored the goal yesterday, but you have to big up the man that dinked out the cross, the quiet assassin.
The quiet.
If somebody put in the comments loving the part that the Bond villain is playing, he does look like a Bond villain, Dyson Maeda, but oh my God, he has got ice in his veins, hasn't he? He's just, he produces these moments. You just wish he would produce more of them because he's capable. It's in there with him. But that cross yesterday, just quality stamped all over it. Go and put it in the net. Just hung it up there. Put it into an area where he hopes somebody would get. And I know he gets to the byline and some of his crosses are, wayward and all that, and he's delivering a wee bit more composure. But I mean, he wasn't hanging about. Raskin standing there with Barisic. There's the ball. And everyone expecting the foul to be made for a foul on O'Reilly or to be blown for. And Maeda's like, well, if you don't want it, we'll take it. Switched on, bang, goal, winning goal. So you cannot underestimate that contribution, Ryan. And just his overall work rate, his ethic, just you talk about getting it. No wonder Ange Postecoglou loves him and genuinely loves him.
Yeah, there's so many things you could call him. He's the human embodiment of Ange Ball, I would say. I seen someone last night call him Tenacious D. I hope Jack Black doesn't mind me using that. But it's true. He doesn't stop. He never stops. I mean, Ange was saying that at the start of the season or the start of last season. And he totally gets it. For however long he's on, if he's on for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, he won't stop. He'll keep on running. Yes, he does have deficiencies in his game. But the fact that the fans adore him anyway, despite those deficiencies that he can have wayward crosses, he can sometimes touch the ball out of play, but we adore him. It's a crazy situation to be in, but he's so endearing. I mean, the thing is, Ange's got so many sort of characters in this team, and he's his own character. Like, he should be going mental when he scores that. Instead, he's like, nope, I'm going back to the halfway line. I'm going to just get ready for the next passage of play. Absolutely, what a signing! I mean, I don't know how much we spent from him. Was it under $1 million or something like that? But what a signing!
Yeah,
It's such a cliche, and you'll notice that I'll say this 3 or 4 times, but he understands the assignment that's been set upon him by Ange. He knows what Ange wants, and he does it every single time, and he's been an absolute revelation for us.
And I know, Aidan, it's a prerequisite that you give your all, in a Celtic and Rangers game, but he does give his all, and then some. But his all, when he's given his all, can be a lot better than what others bring to the table. If he's not being creative and he is hitting the ball apart from crosses and all that, fair enough. But as I said earlier, it doesn't deter him, because he'll keep doing it till he gets it right. He'll persevere, and he's not stopping, as Ryan said. That's just his work ethic, and as Ryan said as well, Celtic scored one up, like, back to the halfway line. Let's make it 2 if we can. It's just that kind of mentality, and I don't think he's undervalued. The Celtic support really do appreciate what he brings to the team, but I guess he's not got that out and out star quality, has he? That a Jota has, or or a Kyogo has. He's just quietly and wonderfully effective. As I said, the quiet assassin, and he probably likes it that way, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, from what we've kind of seen, he does seem to do that. He is a player that at times will sacrifice himself for the actual good of the squad, whether it's his defensive work or his pressing. And you need players like that in your team, Tony, particularly when it's sort of going to come to the Champions League next season. There is going to be maybe, I don't want to say them, hopefully not the majority of the games, but a good chunk of the matches in which you may have less of the ball, or you're up against a sort of, on paper, a better team. You need players like that are sort of not going to be always want to be the star, but just go in there and basically do the dirty work, which I know is a bit of a sort of maybe basic or old-fashioned way to look at it, but you do need individuals like that in your team. And with Maida, I think he has definitely improved technically. I know he still has the odd sort of like cross that goes out the park. I think we've seen a couple of them yesterday, but my dad mentioned himself that he'd been working with Harry Kewell since he'd came to the club, and I think you can see that's definitely improved his technical ability. I think his touch is better now. Ryan mentioned it at times, as he did yesterday. In most matches, he will probably tend to have, sort of more loose touches than somebody like Jota or Kyogo. But overall, I think he's definitely improved, and hopefully he's only going to get better going forward.
Indeed. Now all roads lead to Hampden on June the 3rd, Ryan, and Celtic hopefully record a world record 8th domestic treble. But I will say this, you earn the right to win football matches all the time, and since 2000, since John Barnes was in charge of Celtic, Cally Thistle have done for Celtic 3 times in the Scottish Cup, so nothing is ever a given, regardless of what we think. Now, you would put the smart money is on Celtic to win the treble and win the Scottish Cup, and they will be a ridiculous odds-on price to do that. But you have to beat Inverness Caledonian Thistle to do that, and you'll have to respect them. And I, for one, respect Inverness Caledonian Thistle's record against Celtic in the Scottish Cup. It's not a gimme, it's not a given. You turn up, you play, you think you should be able to win the Scottish Cup, but you have to do it. So just temper all of that kind of right. We just have to turn up kind of chat, and it will fall into place. You've got a game of football to play. I don't think the manager would allow that to creep in, but I heard a lot of chat yesterday saying whoever wins the semi-final just hand them the trophy just now. There's another 90 minutes and beyond to be played if you want to win that trophy. So just kind of keep all those kind of feelings on the ground, as they say. But you have every confidence that this team will go out and make history on June the 3rd. But the recent history books tell you that Inverness will be a dangerous opponent.
Without a doubt. You've got to respect the opponents. It's 11 men v 11 men at the end of the day. I know about the finances and the gap and the league positions between the two. But at the end of the day, it's 11 on 11. And it's a cup final, and they'll be up for it. They'll want to spoil this party, because they'll hear all this. As fans, we're allowed to speculate and talk about potentially getting a treble. But they'll hear all of this and they'll want to be the party poopers, you would say. But I don't think any of the treble talk is going to come in to Ange's sort of team talks or any of the players. They've been instructed not to talk about it. We focus on the next game coming, and then these games take care of themselves once you get to them. I'm sure there'll still be that professionalism between the manager and the players. So I'm not too worried about complacency getting into the thick of things. But yeah, I'm confident. Like you've got to be confident going into a final, but at the same time, I'm sure the players will be focused. They'll be laser focused and ready for whatever Inverness come at us with.
Brown Warrior saying the players certainly won't approach you with that mindset. Cal Mack confirmed that in his post-match interview. Tony, I never saw Cal Mack's post-match interview. I was too busy trying to conduct my own and make my way to the auditorium to speak to the great Australian man. But yeah, I mean, I get that, but you know, there was that permeating the air yesterday, Aidan, with just hand the cup over to the winners of this semi-final. I never ever liked chat like that. You respect everybody. I am confident that Celtic can complete the job at Hampden on June the 3rd. First and foremost, as the manager alluded to, there's also a league title to be won. That's the next game where they can do that against Hearts. So get your mind straight, focused on that. Laser focus is the kind of buzzwords. The cup final will come along when it comes along. But it's just wonderful to be looking at the fact that you could win an 8th domestic treble and create some kind of world record, because no club's ever done that, Aidan. It's just wonderful to have that chance to be able to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. It's excuse me, sorry. It's great to be in that position, Tony. No doubt about it. In terms of the whole thing about just hand Celtic the cup, you know, Ange will not be thinking like that at all. As the commenter mentioned there, McGregor, they're just approaching this as they would sort of any other big game. They need to go there. They need to be at their best to try and get the job done. And as Ryan touched on, we know there's a gap in finances. There's also a gap in the quality of the players. But a one-off game at Hampden, I was Ryan you might have been there as well, Tony. The sort of game in 2015 when Inverness in the semi-final. I know obviously there was a controversial handball in that match, but I don't think it's unfair to say that Celtic also didn't really play well that day. And one-off games, I know maybe the team's a lot stronger than it was now, but you can get stung sometimes. It's happened plenty of times in the past, and you don't want to go into that match, and I'm sure the team won't with any sort of mentality other than we need to be our best to get this job done to them. That's what Ange's did the whole time since he's been at the club. You know, whether you've been playing Real Madrid or you've been playing Awa in the cup, he's always had a sort of mentality of we take it one game at a time. We need to be our best to get the job done, and I'm sure that won't change between now and the end of the season. In terms of next week, I know not even next week, sorry, this week, when we play Hearts at Tynecastle, that's obviously another big opportunity, and I'm sure they'll not be looking ahead to any sort of cup finals. All the focus will be on this game, and as it should be, to be honest, because that's how you ideally become a successful team.
I'm glad he said Real Madrid there, Ryan. I thought he was going to say the Real Rangers. You know what I mean? Because they've still to turn up, I believe, haven't they? Maybe they'll turn up, but we'll see how it goes. Celtic play Rangers in the second game after the split with Hearts this week at Tynecastle. We could wrap up the title with a win there, Ryan. Failing that, they will go to Ibrox with another chance to wrap up the title. So we've got to win one game in 5, Ryan. Quite confident that Celtic are in a good position to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't ask for much better at this point of the season. You look at the league record that we've got; it's absolutely incredible. I don't even think it gets talked about enough how consistently good Celtic have been over the course of this year. It's ridiculous. I mean, we had drop points last year. You think about how Ange was trying to get into the swing of things, and we got 3 defeats out of 6, or we dropped points in 4 out of the first 7 games. We've been so consistent this season. It's been incredible. The fact is, we're going to a really intimidating place in Tynecastle, but we're going there with the chance to win the league. I don't think they need any more incentive than that. And it's big games for players to come in and play. I know we talked about Kobayashi, but he'll really feel part of it because, I mean, barring any injury, he will be starting now. He's the third choice defender. So these are games that he's came in. He's bided his time, and now he'll be part of something bigger. And that's great. It's great. And you talk about the final as well, Scottish Cup final. He'll probably play in that game as well. So he'll all of a sudden feel like his move's justified to come into Celtic when he's been involved in these big games. Yes, he's bided his time, but now he's in the thick of things, and that's absolutely brilliant for him. But I'm very confident going into Tynecastle next week, not due to the opposition, but due to how well Celtic are playing and their form over the year. We're just in a really, really good place just now.
Aidan, is there a freedom after the kind of yesterday? Because that was the hugest test for Celtic in this kind of run-in, wasn't it? Can they tick off that semi-final box, give themselves a chance to achieve something, memorable and wonderful? The manager alluded to it, a chance to, make it a wonderful season. Is there now kind of, right, you can relax and breathe now and go and play that football? The last 6 games, you've got 6 games left, to close out the season with the flurries. See if you can go unbeaten, win them all, including the domestic treble, including going to Ibrox and completing an unbeaten season against Rangers. As I've said before, your goalposts change, don't they? So you're going to Tynecastle next week to win the title. Can you go to Ibrox the following week and complete an unbeaten domestic season against your closest rivals? Can you win the treble? That kind of thing. So, but I get the feeling that, not so much a sigh of relief, but it was one of them, a sharp outtake, and you can now say, right, let's go for it now, with the kind of pressure off that you will be involved in that end of showpiece game. You now have 5-6 showpiece games to really showcase what Brian was saying there, that you've been a good team all season, and show everybody in the kind of run-in that, yep, we're a force to be reckoned with, and we want to achieve all these. We want to tick off those 6 games and win them all in style.
Yeah, of course, Tony, you absolutely do. In terms of pressure, it's no doubt that beating Rangers in that game does release a bit of pressure, because that was probably going to be viewed as your toughest game between now and the end of the season in terms of the opposition. Obviously, going into the Scottish Cup final, it's a massive game, no doubt about that. But just in terms of the opposition, I think the players will feel a wee bit of pressure off after winning that game. I don't think it's unfair to say that. But yeah, I think the talking about moving the goalposts is a very valid point in terms of keeping the motivation, whether it's records for points or, like you said, unbeaten campaigns against Rangers. It's any wee things to sort of keep the team fresh and keep them winning games. I'd imagine whether or not the manager discusses it directly with the players, obviously we're not privy to, but there's probably discussions having his coaching staff have had, and just in terms of keeping the motivation up. But I think obviously after the game next weekend, or this weekend, sorry, I should say, coming, if Celtic are to win that and win the league, then there will be obviously 4 games then that the league is won. So I think wee things that you mentioned there, like unbeaten against Rangers, etc., or try to go unbeaten against Rangers, it's probably quite good to have things like that potentially to play for, because we've seen in the past sometimes, and this team might be a bit of an exception just because of how many games they have won this season. It could be a record-breaking campaign, obviously, but some of the sort of games in the split can tend to end up maybe draws or whatever. It's just the way it can be. But if there's one team I'd expect to sort of break that tradition, then I'd imagine it'll be this Ange team.
Correct. Well, there you go, guys. That's 48 minutes dissection of yesterday's events. It was a beautiful Sunday. It's a happy Monday for a lot of people. I think it's the May Day bank holiday today as well for a few people. I don't know, something like that, isn't it? But hey, there you have it. I think everybody of a green and white persuasion is just loving it right now, and the Scottish Cup final can't come quick enough. Next Sunday can't come quick enough. We will discuss that in greater length and detail across the week. Just want to say thank you to everybody who's commented. Sorry we were engrossed in the chat that we only flicked up a few comments. We'll rectify that in the ensuing days. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Derek, regular contributor. But yeah, we were just too busy dissecting it. I think everybody's just wanting to talk about it, aren't they, and keep talking about it and put on the Viaplay repeats of yesterday's events, the goal celebration et al. Yep, hail to everybody out there as well. But thanks you. Keep the comments coming in and keep them coming in over the course of the next few days when we preview what will be hopefully a title-winning party at Tynecastle, boys.
Fingers crossed, Tony. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Let's go and get the job done.
Correct, indeed. Well, as we say all the time, if you enjoyed today, then why not subscribe to the Celtic Way? You can support top quality football journalism in the process as we cover the club that you love, and all you have to do is visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We also say thank you to SENECA, and as everybody knows, the Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. You can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Gentlemen, thank you for your company this morning. Aidan, first class contribution. Ryan, excellent as always. Look forward to seeing the two of you in the next few weeks, months, years, however long we're doing this, gentlemen, and we're around. But there you go. We'll just look forward to enjoying the rest of our happy Monday and wearing out the old tapes of Jota's header. Jota on the wing, came in, acted like a centre forward, stuck away Daisy Maida's cross. Rangers now Celtic 1, Celtic heading back to Hampden June the 3rd against Inverness Cali Thistle, and record 8th domestic treble on the line, world record for Celtic. Lots of football to be played before then, but hey, it's just wonderful to have that to look forward to, isn't it? Can it beat a showpiece occasion, boys? Happy Monday. There you go. Take care. Thanks, guys. We'll see you all again tomorrow. Same time, same back channel, 10 o'clock, round about then, guys. Something like that, yeah?
Indeed.
Do it all again. Take care. All the best.